Most of us can remember our kindergarten experience.
Well, here's your classroom, Michelle. Doesn't this look like the happiest place on earth?
No, that's Disneyland.
In varying detail, of course. Perhaps it's a faint memory, or perhaps it's vivid. The cadence of your teacher's voice, the smell of the paint, the apron you'd tie around your waist while you're playing with the kitchen set, the names of your friends, maybe, or even the letter people pinned up above the board. Those of us of a certain age, or at least most of us, because things did vary in the past, but most of us remember learning things like our letter names and letter sounds, having a letter of the week, our numbers, counting, handwriting, maybe some simple reading if we were ready. Lots and lots and lots of playing, and the now long dead nap time. The truth is this vivid memory of kindergarten is no longer what kindergarten looks like, sounds like, or feels like for many of our young children in kindergarten today. Nap time has been replaced with a short 10 to 15-minute quiet time. Playtime has been replaced with intensive and developmentally inappropriate academic curricula. A focus on letters has been accelerated to learning how to read and write passages. Focus on numbers has been accelerated to learning things like addition, subtraction, and place value. In many districts and schools across our country, a place that used to ease children into the demands of school and that used to introduce academics gently has become a place of academic pressure, standardized testing, and anxiety. Kindergarten today is the old first grade, and some teachers even argue the old second grade of yesteryear. But kindergarten, even in its origin story, even in its earliest existence, hundreds of years ago, was always intended to be an alternative to the academic pressure of traditional school. It was always intended to be full of play. It was always intended to be preschool. Etymology Online actually tells us that the word preschool postdates the word kindergarten. When kindergarten was created, the word preschool didn't even exist. The word preschool was first used as an adjective in 1866 to describe a developmental time of childhood before a child attended compulsory school. And we still use this word in this capacity today. In 1910, decades after it was used as an adjective to describe a developmental time span, it was then used to describe a place as a noun, a place where children went of that developmental time span went before compulsory school. In America, the first compulsory school law was enacted in 1852. In Massachusetts, it required children ages 8 to 14 to attend school for a certain amount of time. Of course, the compulsory laws have changed a lot over the years, but there was once a time, even up until recently, that anything before compulsory school was considered preschool. And still to this day, kindergarten is only mandated and compulsory in 18 states. When kindergarten was first created, it was created as a place for these preschool-aged children to go before compulsory school and included children ages 3 to 6. By definition, it was always intended to be a preschool. This progression wasn't made with one switch, with one educational act, with one president. It was a slow shift over time. Teachers and the students and society as a whole, all frogs in a giant pot of boiling water. The heat raised so slowly that we have reached this point with no major uproar, no major pushback, with a public either unaware or even accepting it, forgetting what kindergarten was supposed to be, or believing that its new form is superior. And perhaps you fall into the category of people who believe these rigorous academic expectations are a positive change in our school system. That was the past, and the progression into the future, into the present, is always right. It's always better, isn't it? Perhaps you trust that these changes have been made in the pursuit of academic success for our most disadvantaged students, that the government has pushed for these changes based on child development. If so, I do encourage you to respectfully discuss your perspective in the comments, but I personally disagree. I felt so uncomfortable with what I was witnessing and placing upon my young learners. The scripted curricula felt ineffective. The small amount of play and creation felt wrong. So I started researching and reading about the history of kindergarten, its evolution over the decades, how it changed and what propelled it forward, how greed of corporations played a role, how ECE is practiced in other countries, about the importance of play and the way a lack of it affects a child's development. And I found I was right. I was right about the changes in kindergarten, the changes in play and curricula, and the dangers of both. I was right that play is necessary for children to grow into healthy adults, and that the system continued to move farther and farther away from it, even with an ample amount of evidence of the harm that it's doing to millions of children. The trend of moving away from play based education to academics in kindergarten is a very real one that is documented and pushed back against by experts. There is one particular research study that surveyed kindergarten teachers in multiple different decades. In 1998, only 31% of kindergarten teachers believed that children should leave kindergarten knowing how to read. By 2010, that number had risen to 80%. 2010 was, at this point, 16 years ago, so I can only imagine how much higher that number is now. At least 70% of all kindergartners in our country take standardized tests. The number of classrooms where things like imaginative play and sensory tables have decreased. Some kindergarten classrooms get zero free play outside of recess. Some kindergarten classrooms get less than 30 minutes of outside recess. When we look at these large trends, it is clear kindergarten is no longer treated like preschool. Meanwhile, anxiety and mental health issues in our children have risen and continue to rise since 2010. From 2007 to 2017, suicides in adolescents ages 10 to 14 nearly tripled. In our children as a whole, not even just kindergarten students, but in our children as a whole, play is decreasing. Anxiety is increasing. Academic scores are still decreasing. And behavior is becoming an increasingly concerning problem as the years go on. We have sacrificed play for instruction, a love of reading for early reading, behavioral expectations for academic expectations, and mental health for an on paper goal of raising test scores. Test scores, which aren't even rising, by the way. And there are, of course, multiple factors that we need to consider that are at play here: food, screens, parenting, climate anxiety, education funding, changes in curricula and instructional methods, etc. But I can't help but believe that the academification of kindergarten, and thus the decrease in play, coinciding with so many negative changes in our children, is not a coincidence. This is the simple truth about what is happening in our kindergarten classrooms today. Many of our children are not playing. Many of our children are not able to meet the academic expectations. Many of our children are walking into school on their first year of school feeling stupid, feeling like they cannot achieve, feeling like they are failures, feeling stressed, feeling anxious. And whether you are a teacher or a parent or a concerned citizen, I hope you subscribe to follow along with advocating to make kindergarten preschool again.